I no longer live in LA. As many of you know, last year I signed a lease to live in Los Angeles. And so that was in March. So it was in talks before the pandemic had hit the United States. Funny enough, the day that I signed my lease was the day after Trump did the travel ban on Europe. Shit was starting to hit the fan. If you if you remember that was 2 days before we were supposed to go on a big Japan trip and we had to cancel. So a lot was happening at that time. So the reason why I don't live in LA anymore, well, there's two, honestly. The first one is COVID. COVID kind of crushed California, not just like with numbers or anything like that, but what you thought of California, what California is, changed. And besides the restaurant industry, I am not really aware of an industry that got hit harder than the film industry. I don't remember a worse time in all of Los Angeles history for a filmmaker, because I've never heard of the film industry shutting down. Even if, yeah, sure, they opened back up a few months after for some specific projects, the amount is down here as opposed to what it was. And you know, I'm not making Netflix TV shows. I'm trying to do music videos, VFX, cool short form content, kind of like with Will Smith, like that kind of stuff. That's what I want to be doing. And even that kind of took a hit because for a while, no one wanted to do anything. And it's just been on a slow ramp back up from what I had seen. And when I got to LA, my roommates were telling me like, oh man, a few months ago, it was so busy. We could have used you on so many shoots. It was just constant work. Everything was just happening. And when I get there, it's like it's a brick wall, you know? So yeah, LA was expensive. LA is very expensive. One of my last videos was about the cost of rent in LA. So that alone is expensive. But then for someone like me who is commuting back and forth, I had to buy a car. I had to buy all the stuff for a room down there. I have to fly back and forth so I don't have to drive my car back and forth because I value time more than I value money. And also every time I drive, it feels like there's like 3 close calls. Literally the first time I drove down to LA, I watched the person in front of me drive off the freeway. I hate it. I'd rather fly. So it's very expensive. And out of my entire time there, I would say that I only paid for half of that trip with the work that I've gotten from LA. So while that's not horrible, you know, it's hard for me to justify that when I don't know when that light at the end of the tunnel is coming. And it just makes things harder back at home with like trying to save money, trying to buy a house, things like that. The other reason, and it's a big reason, I don't want to solely blame COVID because it's not all because of that, is because I realized it's not exactly what I want at this moment. When I was talking about moving out, someone messaged me, the person who actually took the room, heard that I was thinking of moving out and was asking, hey, like, are you going to be freeing up that room soon? Because I need a place to live. And that kind of lit the fire under my butt to figure it out. Are you moving out or are you going to stay? And if I was going to stay, my lease wasn't going to be up until August. Even though I started my official lease in April, I must have come in the middle of someone else's because we re-signed in August. So it wasn't going to be until August again. So I got stressed out. I didn't know what to do. I felt like, yeah, I should move out, but then I am battling issues in my head like, are you a failure if you move out? Are you quitting? Is this something that you can hold your head up high for? And I had a good conversation with my friend Glenn, and when I was telling him about this, because like I have those quick thoughts of failure, but like I know deep down it's not me failing. Being a failure would have been me never even taking that risk in the first place, even though I've wanted to have that LA experience since I was in like 2nd grade, whether it was because I wanted to be an actor or now in the film industry. So my conversation with Glenn, I was telling him about that and he's like, no, that's not failure at all. You know, when you're an entrepreneur, when you're doing stuff like this, it's just pivoting. You try something out and then you pivot to continue to be successful. And so that's what I'm doing. So that night I was super stressed. I had a dream. In my dream, I decided that I didn't want to be in LA anymore. I wanted to be home. And I knew that with like overwhelming confidence. And so when I woke up, I felt really refreshed. And I feel like this stuff doesn't happen to me a lot where I have a dream make a decision for me. But in that dream, the reason I didn't want to be there anymore is because there's two things I currently want bad right now. The first one is to continue to learn VFX and grow with 3D, all that stuff. I just want to keep growing and learning. And then the second one is to teach that stuff. I want to grow my YouTube. I want more of you guys to subscribe and learn. That's what I love doing right now. And if I can have a future doing this, I mean, I'm set. And those two things I can do right here from Reno. And so there's no sense in spending money for 2 rents and constant commutes when I can do all that from here. So those were the 2 main reasons, but there was a couple underlying reasons, like basically just every time I went there that first day, the crazy homesick feelings that I'd have, because I don't think I'm quite like the normal person. I know that, homesickness is not unique to me, but like all of my friends I've had since high school or before that, we're still friends now. We see each other probably 3 times a week, and I'm very close with my family, and I feel like COVID's only made us closer. So being away for extended periods of time was just not my favorite thing to do. And not to mention I'm married. So, that kind of makes it hard too. Just missing people is tough. Now, me moving out of LA is not to say that I'm not going to keep going down there for work. I want to keep working down there. So every time I get hit up for a job or something like that, I'm going to try and stack a couple of them so that I can fly down there, rent a car, crash on someone's couch and shoot. Because luckily I've made a lot of good connections, and a lot of really nice people have offered me up their couch. And I am just eternally grateful for that. And so I don't want to ever burn those bridges with LA. I really like going there. It just wasn't right for right now. And that's not even to say that in the future that I won't go back to LA on a more permanent, like what I was doing. I don't know that I could ever actually live there full time, just because I'm not crazy about how it is, like the craziness of LA and California, and especially after COVID, just seeing what is all capable of happening. It's pretty scary. Something that is pretty cool that happened was the car that I bought for LA, just a nice commuter car, I bought for $4,500. And, I went through a huge headache to try and get it registered. I had to get it cleaned up because the previous owner was a smoker. It was honestly really gross on the inside. So myself and my wife did a pretty good job at cleaning that thing up, getting it all taken care of. And for the entire time that I've had it, I've put on almost 2,000 miles. So I just drove it back here to Reno and sold it in under a week. First person to come look at it paid $6,000. So I actually made 33% on that investment, which almost never happens with cars. So that's super cool. That was nice to go and take that to the bank, that's for sure. But yeah, so that is why I am not living in LA anymore. I am just full-time here in Reno now. But I would urge you, if you are looking into moving to LA anytime soon, consider the COVID facts, and then consider the things that I brought up, like what is most important to you right now. Can you be away from your friends and family if they're not coming with you? Those types of things, because they're pretty important, honestly. Well, I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, leave me a thumbs up, comment what you thought down below, and then subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one.